So I welcome you students to this third part of urogynecology lecture, and this is a very serious and important lecture because you as postgraduates are expected to know this part. This is not just important for your examination point of view, but also practically you're at least supposed to understand the important complex urodynamics if you are planning a proper management for the patient who has come to you. Even if you're referring her to a urologist, if you're writing down these things in your prescription pad, or you're asking these particular tests to be done, or you're able to comprehend these tests, it is a part of your postgraduate training and a very important, if henceforth you are interested in going in the field of urogynecology, which is an upcoming branch, a very important branch, and the females, they always come to the gynecologist first to understand the problems that they are facing, especially while urination. So you're the first person to diagnose them, and you should do that with all earnestness. So today's lecture, I'm going to talk about the complex and the simple but urodynamics, which is also called as advanced bladder testing. Expected from postgraduate students up till now, whatever we were talking were kind of already covered in your undergraduate level, and it was basic testing, basic knowledge about urogynecology, but this happens to be important. So we are not going to waste any further time in describing that particular aspect, but yes, now let's jump on to understanding the complex urodynamics and the simple urodynamics, which is actually nothing but advanced testing of the micturition problem that the patient is having. Now, like I said before, there is advanced bladder testing. Before you go on to this topic, there is a terminology, the urodynamics terminology, which is shared as an elaborate table. See, tables are very important. I cannot, overemphasize this topic any further because I've been saying it right from, day one. Novak's, Williams, tables are very important. Not all of them, but at least the ones which I'm mentioning in my classes. Make sure that you read them. You have the latest edition, because I have the latest edition and I keep referring from the latest edition itself. There are students who've been asking me, well, ma'am, we are studying from a previous edition, and we don't know where the page number that you said is not there in our book. Which table are you talking about? So it's very simple to understand which table am I talking about, because there are only one table of that particular kind. There is an elaborate table which describes, and suppose just in case you don't have in the previous edition, you let me know. I will take a snapshot and I'll share it with you. So there's an elaborate table on urodynamic definitions. Make sure that you read it. We're not expecting you to write it word by word in the exam, because already you have so much on your plate, but at least you should be able to understand what is the meaning, or what is the first sensation to void, then this strong desire to void, what is exactly detrusor overactivity, whether it is phasic, it's terminal, it's neurogenic, it's idiopathic. What is the bladder capacity? I'm talking about systometric capacity or maximum capacity. So these are the different definitions which you should read once before you finally get to the testing of urodynamics. And this is, this table, it continues to the next page also. So have a look at this table. Read the definitions, because whenever finally you will be making the diagnosis, you will be writing one of these definitions. But this, they will never ask you to write down the definitions, obviously, but you should at least have a good idea as to what do they mean. Now, advanced bladder testing is divided into simple urodynamics and complex urodynamics. I'll be taking first the class on simple urodynamics, which is not difficult to understand. You must have already seen and these kind of reports in your patients. Not difficult to understand, not difficult to comprehend. Simple urodynamics consists of 3 tests. One is the uroflowmetry, one is post-void residual urine, which I've already briefly spoken about, and one is simple flow cystometry. The first test is uroflowmetry. You have heard about it, I'm sure. In this case, a patient comes with a full bladder, not a painfully full bladder, but a comfortable full bladder, supposed to pee on a particular, inside a funnel which goes on to a commode which has got sensors in it, and they sense, it talks about flow, uroflowmetry. So it talks about, there is a bell-shaped curve which is made, which tells about the amount of the volume voided, with the rate with which it is voided, and with the rate it starts, and then it peaks, and then it sustains, and then it, which is a normal bell-shaped curve in normal healthy individuals. In cases with hesitation, incomplete voiding or dribbling or incontinence, the shape of the graph will change. And it's not very difficult to understand that this is not normal. This is what is expected, from you. You can understand that this is not normal. So a bell-shaped curve, something like this, comes, okay, which is normal. So it will take a while to make the peak flow. The flow sustains over a few seconds and then it decreases down. So from here you can understand the amount of urine voided, with the rate with which it is voided, with the rate at which it is sustained, and with the rate at which it finally fades out, and finally the urine is complete. Now after the patient has gone through the uroflowmetry, you expect the patient to completely void the urine. The next thing will be post-void urine. You will send the patient to see if there is any post-void residual urine. In my previous lecture I told you that anything above 50 ml is sensible. It should be less than 50 ml. The residual volume of urine should be less than 50 ml. Okay, above 150 ml is pathological. There is something wrong. So 50 and 150 is still a dicey zone, but yes, above 50 you will be a little alarmed that this is not normal. Okay, this is what we're expecting. I would have been comfortable had it been less than 50. It's not, so I am, sending you for further testing. And then comes simple flow cystometry, in which what you do is you try to refill the bladder of the patient with normal saline. At an elevation. They've given everything over here, 50 to 100 ml per minute. What you're trying to understand from here is, this is a subjective examination. When did the patient first have that filling pressure inside? When did she develop the first, feeling to void? At how many ml? Then at which time did she become uncomfortable with that? She wanted to void, strong desire to void. And what is finally the maximum cystometric capacity? And in NOVAX, everything is mentioned over here that 50 ml में the first sensation to void comes. At around 150 ml, there is a first desire to void. At 250 ml, it becomes a strong desire to void, and the maximum cystometric capacity, which they have tried to, analyze over so many years, is around 400 ml. Again, this also speaks about the different mechanics, the dynamics, the urodynamics of bladder and bladder voiding. And now we come on to complex urodynamics, which will be considered in my next segment.